So I want to talk about two important topics here. Let's talk about this concept of parent and child containers. So in your HTML, when we nest an element inside of another one, so for example, all of this stuff right here is nested inside the body tag. And we can easily see that because we followed the standards of indentation, and we've indented anything that's sitting inside the body tag over by one tab. So this H1 here, this H2, all the way down to this image, these are all nested inside the body tag. We call the body, in this case, the parent, and we call these children. Now, you could look at this unordered list here and say the same thing. This unordered list is the parent of these list items here. Okay, and so at the same time, this unordered list is the child of this body tag. So as you nest, you can kind of see these parent-child relationships just based purely on nesting. It's a fairly simple idea. Now, one thing you need to know, however, is that HTML elements have a CSS property called display, like this, display. And by default, the typography elements like H1s and paragraph tags are set to what we call display block. And what that means is that their true width consumes the amount of space that the parent tag will give it. So let's explain that. Let's break that down. This body tag here is essentially saying, anything that's inside of this white space is going to sit inside of the body tag, right? So if I right click on this and click inspect element and unfold this, when I hover over the body tag, you can see that the body tag is kind of the master tag of this browser window here, right? So it's the main parent tag. When I hover over it, the blue represents the amount of space that it consumes. Okay, so it consumes the full available width of the browser window. And if I extend the browser window, then the body tag's true width actually changes. And you can see that illustrated with this number right here if you scroll down on your right of this inspector tool. So from here, the width is set to 994 pixels for me. And if I bring it down a bit, you'll see the body's width has changed, right? Now it is 733 pixels. So to understand this display block property, when I hover over this H1 here, notice that the blue that I'm highlighting up here, this blue, is consuming the full available width that the body gives it. So the body is the parent tag, and it's saying, okay, if there's an H1 inside of it and it's display block, it can consume the full width that I am allowing for. And so if you look here, this H1 is consuming 733 pixels, just like what the body is consuming. Now, we can change that by changing the value of the display property to inline. Now when I save that, all the H1s are going to have an inline value for their display. And watch what happens. When I refresh, you'll see now they jumped up together to be on the same line. And why is that? It's because when you set the display property to be inline, the width becomes the width of the content. It doesn't take up the full space that the parent allows. It simply becomes the width of the actual content itself, the text inside the H1 tags. That element now has its own specific width. So that's a little bit about display. And one more thing you might want to note about it is you can also do display none. So when you set that to none, it won't even render on the page. And that's very useful. We'll use that down the line when we want to have things kind of fade into the page or fade out. But just note that display none is a good way of kind of preventing it from rendering. And likewise, there's a similar property called visibility. And you can say visibility hidden. And that'll render it. And as you can see, the space is kind of being occupied, but you just won't see it. Its visibility won't be there. So it's there, it's just hidden. So again, by default, typography comes with display block. And so that's why you're seeing this H1 show up on a new line. That's why you're seeing, everything kind of break out into their own line. But you can always change that by changing it to display inline.